Hi everyone, it's Lynn Dion from Pink Whisper Designs. Today we're going to play with the metallic gilding polish, and I've done some videos on this in the past and you all seem to really enjoy them. So I thought I'd do another one in a fall theme, and we're going to use an embossing folder from Spellbinders and some Spellbinders beautiful sequins as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at that embossing folder. This is from Spellbinders, and it's the 3D embossing folder, and this is called Oak Forest. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's got those beautiful little acorns and vines. And what's nice about this is it measures 5.5 by 8.5. So you could easily fit two A2 size card panels inside this embossing folder and emboss these at one time. I did feel the embossing folder had a little bit of direction to it, so I am going to do these one at a time. So I've got a piece of craft heavyweight cardstock. I've placed it in my Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine. I've got the platform, the embossing folder with the cardstock, and my adapter plate. Now you would want to use the directions for your specific machine. This is for the Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine. And take a look at this. Isn't this absolutely gorgeous? So now what we want to do next is take a look at our metallic gilding polish. We're going to start with the Coral Sands gilding polish. And these are from Creative Expressions. And I've used these in other videos. And I will list and link those down below for you because everyone seems to really be kind of intrigued by how these work and how beautiful they come out. So it comes with this little foam applicator. What you want to do is place the applicator down into that metallic gilding polish and then scrape any excess along the side of the container. And then I also like to pat that applicator down onto my craft mat. I just want to remove anything that's too thick or any little chunks or lumps of ink that you might get. So I like to do that step, but you certainly don't have to. And with a very light hand, I added that color all over. Now the next color I'm going to grab is the mint gilding polish. And to take that lid off, again, I'm going to place the lid on my craft table and then push that tab off to the side. It's much easier to do it when that lid is on your craft table. So let's, with a light hand, let's add some of this mint gilding polish. And we're going to be coming back over these. So this is just to get started and define some areas of color. And then with the Ocean Teal, again, place that lid on your craft table and push that little tab off to the side. And then I'm reaching inside, grabbing some of that ink, scraping it along the container to remove any excess. And then you can either pat it on your glass media mat or go directly to your paper. With the gold gilding polish, this is the Gold Treasure, I'm going to start adding a little bit of this. Now this one was a little bit drier, so what you can do is take your Distress Spritz sprayer and just with a little bit of water spritz right down into that container, and that'll just soften up that gilding polish a little bit. So again, with an even lighter hand, I'm adding that gold. And here's where I decided to give it a little spritz with some water. It spread a little bit easier once I did that. And you do want to spritz these before you put them away. Keep that moisture in there. So I'll show you that a little bit later as well. Now I'm going back to the mint and just adding a little bit more of that color. And back to that Ocean Teal just to hit some of those high spots. And this gave it a little more depth with that additional Ocean Teal. And I hope you can see that beautiful shimmer that you get on these. It's just absolutely stunning. And I thought I would use the same embossing folder for all three of these so you can see how different it looks depending on the technique that you decide to use and depending on the paper that you use. So I'm taking that Ocean Teal, placing some on my glass media mat, spritzing it with a little bit of water, and then we'll go ahead and spatter this panel. And this will just tie everything together. And also, I always say that if you get a little bit of that gilding polish down in the lower areas of the cardstock, This just kind of ties it all together, so don't worry about being really fussy. If you get some in those lower areas, it just adds to the interest on this project. It just add a little bit more shimmer. And then what I did do is go around the edges with that applicator just to finish those off. I wanted to show you that before you put these away, what I like to do is make sure I clean off the edges, spritz it with a little bit of water, and then I take my little applicators to the sink and I clean those. Now with Pearl Lustre, let's start with that second piece of craft cardstock. And I will be showing you what this all looks like on some black cardstock as well. So I'm again going to pick that up, just kind of scrape it along the edges, pat it onto my glass media mat. And for this one, I wanted to get kind of a marbleized look. So you can see I don't have a lot of ink on here at this point. And I'm kind of doing a circular motion to kind of get, I guess I'll call it like little veins. And then I've got the dark cherry, and this one is so pretty. You probably noticed that for that first panel, we embossed the cardstock first. For this second one, I wanted to show you what it looks like when you apply your inks and then do your embossing. And it's a totally different look, but they're both equally as beautiful. And again, I'm using that light hand and just adding some kind of like circular swirls to this. And I don't even mind if a little bit of that craft cardstock is showing through. It's going to add some extra interest. And then with the blue wave, I'm going to do the same thing. Now, once we run this through the embossing folder, we're going to be able to then come back to this and add more color and add more highlights. So let's add this. And you can already see how we're starting to get that really veiny look, kind of like a marbleized look. So that is so pretty. This would be pretty even if you didn't emboss it. This would be a gorgeous background. And because this ink dries so quickly, I'm able to pop it right into the embossing folder and run that again through my Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine. And look at this. Isn't this just absolutely gorgeous? Now let's go ahead and hit the high spots on this embossed cardstock. So I'm going back to that gold treasure that we used on that first background, and I'm going to place some of that on my glass media mat. I did decide to spritz that again with a little bit of water just to soften it up a little bit. So do keep in mind that's a quick and easy way to get your gilding polish kind of moving around again. So if it seems like it's dry, just give it a little spritz of water. It'll be fine. And then I'm very, very light hand. I'm just hitting those high spots. And I don't want a lot of ink. I just want a little bit on top. So once we have that done, I'm going to take that dark cherry, place it on my glass media mat, and we'll go ahead and spritz this just like we did with that other one. Now we can let that sit and dry. And then for the third card panel, what we're going to do is switch over to some black cardstock. I'll just edge that quickly. And I'm going to use some black 100-pound cardstock. And you're going to see how different the inks look on the black. It's really going to pop. So I'm going to the Pearl Lustre. And then I'm going to start adding that. Now you can see I'm using a little bit of a heavier hand than I did on that last background. I want to kind of fill in. So I'm adding a little bit more ink this time. Switching over to the Tangerine. I love this color. It just really pops on your cardstock, especially on the black. I love it on the black. So again, we'll just start to apply that. And you can really see that the ink that I already put down is pretty much dry. So it's not really doing a lot of blending. Now the more layers of ink you add, you can start to get them to move a little bit, but I'm just adding fairly thin layers each time. And then we'll go to that rich red and we'll apply that kind of in between. Now I'm not worried about some of that darker black area showing through. I like that. I like that look that you're getting. where you kind of get that contrast of color. Now again, this is dry pretty quickly, so I can go ahead and run that through the die cutting machine. And look at this. This is just stunning. I mean, each one of these looks different, but that beautiful background and shimmer that we get is just gorgeous. So now I'm going to that rich red again, and we'll do that same spattering that we did on the others. I love to add the spattering. I just think it adds so much to these panels. It just adds a little bit of interest, a little bit more shimmer. And then for this one, I did decide to come in with a second color spattering. So I'm going to go back to that pearl luster and add a little bit of that as well. So you could do all of the colors. You could spatter all of the colors on this panel if you like. But I just thought I'd do the two. So take a look at that up close. And then I've grabbed a couple small pieces of craft cardstock for the two panels that I did with craft cardstock. And what we're going to do is just color these so that they're the color that will match the projects. These will be for our sentiments. For this one, let's go ahead and grab the gold treasure. And all I'm doing is getting a fairly thick coating of the ink and then applying it directly to the cardstock. And just spreading that out. You can add as many layers of that ink as you want. And then for the black cardstock, I'm going to pick up two of the colors from this. So I'm going to do a two-tone sentiment. And what I'm going to do here is start off with that red and then add that Tangy Tangerine to the bottom and kind of let these two overlap a little bit. And I do want some of that darker black color still to be able to be shown through a little bit. So I'm not going to apply tons of ink. I'm going to just give this sentiment a two-tone look. So you can see that up close. Let's let that dry. Oh, and quickly, I just wanted to show you that I took all of my little applicators to the sink and rinsed them off, and I'm going to pop those right back into the lids. And that I like to do that when I'm done with all my inking. So let's go ahead now and build up our cards. I've got some craft cardstock that measures 4 1/4 by 11 inches. I've scored it at 5 1/2 inches. And we'll go ahead and create our card bases. So these will be A2 size top folding cards. And this one is black 100-pound cardstock. So I'm going to place these on each of these cards. Now I did decide I wanted a little bit of those border of the card to show. So I went back to my Tim Holtz paper trimmer and I cut these down a little bit. So I cut them down. They were 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. Now they're 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. And that'll let a little bit of that border show all the way around. I've got my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. I'm going to apply that all around. You do want to kind of hit the high spots there. Make sure you have plenty of glue so it sits nicely on your card. And then I'm just going to center that. And let's do this black one. And that black edge really looks nice. I really like how that looks. And then we've got this last one. So once I had all three of those assembled, let's go ahead and work on our sentiments. This is the Spellbinders cutting dies, and this is called Hello Smile. You get the two dies with the sentiments, and then you also kind of get the background that you can lay the sentiment on, and I really like this look. So I'm going to grab both of these, and we're going to do kind of mix these up. One will say hello, and the other one will say smile. So I'm going to do those backgrounds, 2 of them out of craft cardstock for the hello and the smile. And then I'll use the metallic paper that we created for the actual letters for the sentiments. So let's go ahead and run these last 2 through, and this one will say hello. And I'm lining it up kind of where those 2 colors meet so that I get that little bit of an ombre effect. I'll go ahead and run those through, and the background on this one will be the black. And I'm using the Spellbinders Scout machine to run these through. Let's pop out those letters, and I do have plenty of cardstock there to do another set of words if I wanted to. And then I put this little precision tip on my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. I had not known there was even such a thing. And I happened to be at a show and I saw this and I thought, this is a great idea. So now I have two containers of the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. One with the precision tip on it and one with the regular tip. And I really love this for these little tiny areas that you need to get into. It makes it a lot easier to just apply little tiny dots of glue. And I should also tell you that all the products I'm using today are listed and linked down below and also on my blog. And I will also link those extra videos for you that I've done using these gilding polishes in the past. And I think you'll really enjoy them because I talk a little bit more about the differences between the gilding polish and the opal polishes. So you may want to check that out as well. Now I did grab the packaging just to make sure I was lining these up properly, but it's pretty easy to follow where your letters go. And I just pop those in place. And look at that up close, how pretty that is. So let's do the hello, and now we have all 3 of these all set. And with the Tim Holtz Ideology velvet trims in the cool colors, I'm going to grab that really pretty purple color. Now what I wanted it to do was look like there was a little banner running behind each of these sentiments. But I didn't want to create too much bulk, and I also didn't want to use up too much of my velvet trims. I love using them. I use them all the time, but I'm pretty frugal with them. So what I did was I just cut like an inch size chunk for each side, maybe not even like 3/4 of an inch. And I'm going to cut a little V on each end. I'm using my detail scissors to do that. And then I'm just going to place these on either side, and it will give the illusion that this little banner runs all the way across the back. But it'll also give us a place to put our little foam squares. So I've got some 1/4 inch double-sided tape. We'll just tape those in place. And because there's a little bit of bulk in the velvet, I'm just going to place my little small 3D foam squares right down the center of the sentiment. So I'll avoid the velvet area. And so this will lay nice and flat on the card. Actually, I think I used the large foam squares on this. And those are from scrapbook.com. So you can see that first one. Let's go ahead and do the next one. Now for this one, I'm going to grab that kind of like pretty ice blue from this one. And let's go ahead and do the same thing, and we'll attach this to the card. And then for the last one, I decided to use the velvet trims in the neutral, and it's got this beautiful black. And that's going to tie in nicely to the border on the card. So I went ahead and attached that the exact same way. Now I did decide to grab these beautiful Spellbinders Opalescent Sequins. And I've got purple, aura, and teal. And I'm going to add a few to the front of each of the cards. That again is just going to bring everything together, and I thought these colors were just perfect. I'm going to add a few below the sentiment and 3 above the sentiment, and I'll do that same thing for all 3 of these. And look how pretty that is. I'm using my Marvy jewel picker to pick up these little sequins and place them down. So that just makes it really easy to attach these. So let's take a closer look at the finished cards. And I hope you really enjoyed these metallic gilding polishes as much as I love using them. And I've been meaning to get back to them for so long now. I do apologize for those of you who have been waiting to see these again. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you all have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.